The most unforgettable queens who defied gender norms. Women who wore crowns like armor and ruled with the sharp edge of defiance. They ruled in armor, commanded armies, wore beards, and shattered every rule society tried to write for women. These weren't just queens, they were forces of nature. Today, we uncover the most unforgettable rulers who defied gender norms and rewrote history on their own terms. Hatshepsut, the pharaoh who wore a beard. In ancient Egypt, power was draped in gold and reserved for men, but Hatshepsut refused to be sidelined. Crowned as pharaoh in the 15th century BCE, she didn't just adopt the title, she took on the full male regalia, including the ceremonial false beard. Her reign was one of prosperity, marked by ambitious building projects and bold trade expeditions. But the most radical part? She made Egypt accept her as king, not queen, in official records. A woman presenting as a man, running one of history's greatest civilizations. It was political genius in plain sight. Hatshepsut didn't hide her gender. She rewrote the rules around it. Statues and carvings showed her with a man's muscular frame, yet her inscriptions spoke of her divine birth as the daughter of a god. For 2 decades, she ruled in peace, expanding Egypt's wealth and influence without the endless wars of her predecessors. But her story has a sharp twist. After her death, her stepson, Thutmose III, tried to erase her name and image from history. Chiseled faces, defaced statues, an ancient attempt at cancel culture. Yet her monuments still stand, silently proving that power belongs to those bold enough to seize it. Boudica, the warrior who burned Rome's pride. In the 1st century CE, the Roman Empire thought Britain was theirs to crush. Then came Boudica, a queen of the Iceni tribe, who turned personal tragedy into an inferno of rebellion. After Roman soldiers flogged her and assaulted her daughters, she rallied tribes across Britain, leading an army of tens of thousands. Her warriors painted themselves in woad, and her chariots thundered into battle. Boudica didn't fight for a crown. She fought for vengeance, for freedom, and for the right to lead without Roman chains. She was no puppet queen. She was a storm with red hair. Boudica's rebellion tore through Roman settlements, Camulodunum, Londinium, Verulamium, burning them to the ground. Roman historians claimed she slaughtered thousands, a brutality Rome usually reserved for others. But Rome had the numbers, discipline, and a well-oiled war machine. Eventually, her forces were cornered and crushed. Boudica's final fate is debated. Some say she poisoned herself rather than be captured. The Romans tried to paint her as a savage, but even their biased records admit her leadership terrified them. She remains a symbol that a woman, even in a patriarchal world, can command an army fierce enough to shake an empire. Nzinga of Ndongo and Matamba, the diplomatic predator. In 17th century Angola, Queen Nzinga faced a triple threat: Portuguese colonizers, rival African kingdoms, and the slave trade's brutality. Her weapon wasn't just the sword, it was her mind. In her first meeting with Portuguese governors, they refused her a chair, hoping to humiliate her. Nzinga calmly ordered a servant to kneel so she could sit, eye level with the men trying to diminish her. That single act became legendary, a masterclass in power psychology. Nzinga's reign blended fierce warfare with cunning alliances. She dressed as a man during battle, commanded armies, and struck shifting treaties to keep her people independent. At one point, she declared herself king to reinforce her authority among male warriors. While her enemies underestimated her as a woman, she played them against each other. Portugal, Dutch traders, neighboring tribes, like a chess master. By the time she died at 80, Nzinga had preserved her kingdom's sovereignty in an era when colonial powers devoured entire nations. She didn't just break gender norms, she weaponized them. Christina of Sweden, the rebel scholar. In the 1600s, Queen Christina inherited the Swedish throne as a child, but she never fit the mold of a demure monarch. She refused marriage, wore men's clothing, and surrounded herself with philosophers, artists, and scientists. Christina openly mocked the idea that her worth depended on producing an heir. Instead, she spent lavishly on culture, transforming Stockholm into a northern hub of the arts. Court whispers called her eccentric. She called it freedom. Christina's boldest act came when she abdicated the throne in 1654, choosing intellectual freedom over political duty. She shocked Protestant Sweden by converting to Catholicism and moving to Rome, where she became a patron of opera and science. Rumors swirled about her sexuality, her friendships, and her refusal to conform. She was neither queen nor wife, but something entirely her own, a ruler who chose ideas over crowns. Her legacy is proof that sometimes the greatest rebellion is walking away from power. Tamar the Great of Georgia, the unconquered. In the 12th century, Queen Tamar took the throne of Georgia and immediately faced a council of nobles, doubting her as a woman king. She answered with conquests. Tamar led campaigns that expanded Georgia's borders to their greatest extent, defeating Muslim and Christian rivals alike. She combined diplomacy with force, and under her, Georgia entered a golden age of art and trade. Tamar's reign wasn't just about military victory. It was about reshaping the role of women in power. She called herself King Tamar in official documents, removing the gender qualifier altogether. Her court produced epic literature and architecture still celebrated today. Even after her death, Georgians remembered her not just as a ruler, but as a symbol of unity and independence, a reminder that leadership has no gender. Lakshmi Bai, the Sword of Jhansi. In 1857, during the Indian Rebellion against British rule, Queen Lakshmi Bai of Jhansi became a legend. Widowed and threatened with losing her kingdom, she refused to surrender. Clad in a turban and warrior's tunic, she rode into battle with her young son strapped to her back, wielding a sword against British troops. Lakshmi Bai's leadership inspired not just her own troops, but rebels across India. The British described her as the most dangerous of all Indian leaders. She fought fiercely until her final battle, where she was mortally wounded but refused capture. Her death turned her into a martyr, a woman who met empire's might with unshakable courage. Ranavalona I of Madagascar, the Iron Lady. In the 19th century, Queen Ranavalona I ruled Madagascar with an iron fist. She rejected European influence, expelled missionaries, and enforced traditional laws with brutal precision. Her isolationist policies kept Madagascar independent for decades, though at a high human cost. She defied the colonial expectation that a queen should be a compliant partner to European powers. Ranavalona's rule is still debated. Some call her a tyrant, others a protector of sovereignty. She maintained independence against French and British pressure, but her harsh punishments and forced labor projects stained her legacy. Yet she remains a rare case of a queen resisting colonization head-on. A reminder that power often comes wrapped in contradiction. Liliuokalani of Hawaii, the last monarch. In the late 1800s, Queen Liliuokalani faced American businessmen and politicians eager to annex Hawaii. She tried to restore royal authority and protect native rights, drafting a new constitution that shifted power away from foreign elites. Her peaceful defiance clashed with their greed. In 1893, a coup backed by U.S. Marines overthrew her. She was imprisoned in her own palace, accused of treason. Yet she maintained dignity, writing songs and poetry that became symbols of Hawaiian identity. Though her throne was gone, Liliuokalani's fight for sovereignty still inspires native rights movements today. Across centuries and continents, these queens shattered the roles society tried to force upon them. Some fought with swords, others with words, diplomacy, or sheer presence. Each proved that leadership isn't defined by gender. It's forged in the moments when defiance becomes survival. These rulers weren't perfect. They were human, complex, and often ruthless. But that's what makes them unforgettable. Their defiance wasn't just against men. It was against the idea that their power should be limited at all. History tried to silence some of them. Instead, they became louder with time. History remembers those who refused to fit the mold. These queens didn't just rule, they redefined what ruling meant. Which of them surprised you most? Share your thoughts in the comments. And let's keep uncovering the stories history tried to hide.